Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. As we say every week, we have been here since the March of 2020. Welcome if you are joining us live on Facebook or YouTube, and hello again if you are joining us on Spotify. We really appreciate it. My name is simply Sherry, and I would go into what my night is about, but since it's tonight, I'll come back and bring more to it later. I'm going to go ahead and kick it to, I'm going to be real easy and kick it to Girl Genius.
You'll make your life easier. That's what we're doing. Just use me as a guinea pig. Hey, how's everybody doing? I am Girl Genius. I am first week of every month. My segment is called Let's Talk About the ... Usually books. By the way, for the record, I know that that's an ellipses, but I like saying ... because it's just funny. So, well, let's talk about the ... Usually books. I pick creatives about their process and how we get from here's a great idea to here is a finished product for which you can purchase. Yay! That is what I am here for, to talk about all things creative and the process to get there. I am excited for this week, and what I am going to do is stop talking and kick it to... This whole pointy thing is hilarious.
I didn't even try this one because
I did, and I subconsciously knew it's like that way.
Down that way, got it. You got it.
I'm gonna give it to. This time I'm gonna give it to Kaniki J.
Hello, everybody. We don't know which way we're pointing, but I promise we know our left from our right. I promise we do. We do. It's just different on camera. This is a perfect opportunity for me to tell you that every week we volunteer our time and the people that we interview volunteer their times, but these platforms are not free. So if you would like to support us so that we can continue to keep the mic on, scrolling at the bottom of your screen, you see our Cash App. If you can drop us some Cornish in there, we can continue to bring you master classes and things.
I can point down.
I can point down too. My week is called Poets and Platforms, where I interview poets who have platforms for the arts. I'm super duper excited to find out who we were interviewing this week. Well, who Sherry's going to interview this week. I'm going to have some questions, but super duper excited. Saw them at a slam, seen them doing poems, and just very, very excited that we are continuing to bring the people that I like and you like, because you keep saying that it is the masterclass. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And again, tell your mama and them. And listen, don't just be looking, at us on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe.
Yes, subscribe.
Thank you. So I'm going to kick it to, and I'm going to point up. Kick it to the one, the only, Miss Cayenne.
Hey. What's up, everybody? It's Miss Cayenne. I'm a poet, and I know it. As you can see, we just live and in color. We having a good time. Whether you join us or not, we're going to have a good time. But because you're here, we are excited for tonight's show. I am the second Sunday of the month. My segment is called Passion Projects, the Root of the Why, where I get an opportunity to kind of ask questions about why a person maybe got into this area of creativity, as well as their story kind of leading up to this place. I get to be real nosy, and I like that part of it all. And I just want to say that in addition to like, follow, and subscribe, ask questions. This is a prime opportunity for you to get free direction. I mean, things that you may not get an opportunity to ask a creative any other time. So take advantage of this time. Now, I'm going to kick it to so we can get into this show. Tonight's host, and that is Simply Sherry. Hi.
Hey. I am really excited. Tonight is called From Behind the Microphone. And the tagline being is this is the time we get to know the person behind the performers, because performers are people too. Tonight, I am interviewing I'm going to include them in my I just met them line of poet people. They just kind of burst onto the Baltimore scene right before everything shut down in 2020. And I'm really excited that I've gotten the opportunity to interview them here tonight. Tonight, we are in conversation with Ephraim Nehemiah. Ephraim Nehemiah is a writer, educator, and award-winning performance poet. They have showcased their work with Tedx Talks, Saul Williams World Tour, National Basketball Association, and countless other venues, colleges, and institutions around the nation. Their full-length poetry book, The Autobiography of Absence, was published in 2021 with 12 Arts Press. Everyone, please welcome Ephraim Nehemiah.
Hey, what's going on? What's good?
It's all good. I'm so happy that you were here tonight. I can see we're going to have a little bit of a freezing problem with you, so be careful.
Oh no, for real?
Yeah, I just noticed it, but it's okay. We're going to
make it go away. I'm unmanifesting it.
Yes, we're unmanifesting that. So I'm going to go ahead and go off screen and let you go ahead and deliver your poem tonight.
Word. So I'm going to perform some poems I usually don't get to do. And these are both out of the book, The Autobiography of Absence. Oba's first laugh. His voice is a lighthouse, navigating a system of smiles. The giggle, a beacon that pierces the fog. It guides me away from waves of wraiths pulsing with dead beats. His gums emit a spiral-rolled choir, singing me safe to land. And I know that this is home. This is home. Call the gospel by its given name after Will Evans. My professor speaks the name of gods from people who occupy the first of my hyphen, and I know this will be the name of my firstborn if this is the closest I can come to naming my child God, except I did not consider how this could also be disrespect for deities not named Jesus. My priest, for the moment, says the spelling might keep us safe, and the divination says we know the answer to whether or not we should change the name, and I think, who is we? But I say the shortened version of his name to be safe and still play the same or reach the songs, even though neither of us understand the words. It does not stop us from dancing to them. His favorite song right now is I Got the Keys, and here, favorite song means the music with the easiest word for a toddler to repeat while violently shaking its namesake. I feel safe in congested, dimly lit rooms with an abundance of liquor I will not taste, and a swarm of tunes I dive into with no inhibitions, because the judgment of the eyes around me have been drowned in enough spirits to also be free here. I have not danced this way in months because I do not like babysitters, and 2 a.m. is reserved for a different kind of party, but there is still music in a room that is dimly lit. But this time, my only dance partner can fit inside my arms. I sing his favorite lullabies, at least the ones that have been working recently. And this is a place where I am safe, where he is also holding me together, where I am also home.
Ooh. All right. So I haven't asked a question like this in a while. What was the inspiration for writing that piece?
Being a parent, and with my experience as a parent, there were a lot of tumultuous moments, and I had to consistently fight to be present, and never wanting to get in the midst of fighting, in the midst of dealing with another parent, the struggle that exists, never forgetting those tender moments, never forgetting the reasons why you're there, and the things that do make me smile, make me feel good. And so additionally too, there is Will Evans. I'm about to forget the name of his book. My daughter's hair, doing my daughter's hair.
Yes.
I feel like I'm messing up the title just a little bit. I'm gonna get it right by the end. But so he has a lot of poems, right, talking about being a parent as well. And so reading that book, inspired the second half of that poem as well. Just the way he was talking about it, and me just reflecting, on my experiences as a parent.
Okay. Danielle Girl Genius usually asks a question about writing process, which seems to fit right here. So sorry, Gigi, I'm stealing your question. What type of writer are you? Are you pen and pad? Are you straight to computer? Are you whatever's in your hand at the time the inspiration comes?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just got to do what I got to do when I got to do it. So at first I was very strictly pen and paper. Mm-hmm. And that was the only way I could feel good about getting it out. And there were so many times where I would feel really inspired to write something, and if I didn't have a pen and paper, it just went away. I'm I ain't putting it in my phone. That ain't the way it goes. And I was I got to stop letting those moments pass me by, and so after that I would have I almost even go through phases too. There'll be times where I'm in one particular book for a long time, it's just all pen and paper. Other times where I'm only typing it out on my phone. are just going through different things. But yeah, for the most part, it's whatever is closest at the time. But if I like get to choose, my favorite is to do still with the pen and paper.
Do you have a list somewhere of prompts that you may not have been able to complete, or like this is a good idea, but I don't know what the poem is?
So that happens to me a lot, and oftentimes I will like start it in my notes app a lot of times. And at first I used to just be like, if I didn't have it in that moment, it just died that day. Whereas now I'll just keep thinking about it. Because like you said, sometimes it's like, yo, I have some idea of what I'm saying, but I don't know how to put it all together yet. And, sometimes it takes months. There's been times where it took a couple years. Sometimes it takes a week, and just waiting for like, yo, this is the way. And you're like, oh, I get to write it now. I've been waiting so long. So yeah.
But that's how it happens. Because trust me, I have lists upon lists of things that I've wanted to write, or like, that's an amazing prompt, but whatever the poem was supposed to be, I can't pull it together.
Yeah, and it'd be like that sometimes, and then having that knowledge, I think there was probably a time too where I would have just forced it out, and it would have been just like this poem that's not doing, that idea justice. And so, yeah, and I think it helps too, though, I'm always having something I got to write about. So it doesn't feel like, oh, because I'm not writing that, I'm not writing at all. So that also helps.
Do you write on a regular basis, or do you write when inspired?
Neither.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to figure out what the third choice is now.
I ain't gonna call it regular. You know what I mean? I write. Because I want to be like an everyday writer, and that's just not my truth. But so I try to do something like I try to either like consistently, either I'm editing or writing or like thinking about the idea or reading something else. So that way there's consistent like being within the medium of poetry. But I do also believe in like, having a practice to something. Like for me, this is a craft that I'm invested in, I'm involved in. And so if I only wait for those big moments, then I think that makes it more difficult for growth to happen, and also too, it's like when that inspiration hit, it's going to allow you to create something that is so amazing. But to me, that consistent practice is like, how do I make my worst better? Right. And so I watch hella basketball. It's the only sport I'm invested in. But like a bad game for LeBron James is a lot of other people's amazing game. But it's like that training is like, how do I make my worst still really good? And so for me, when I only focused on inspiration, my worst was like terrible. But yeah, my great was great. But I had no consistent practice to make my worst better. You know what I'm saying? And so when I got to do something on the spot, all I got left is trash because, I wasn't inspired. And so for me, it's the inspiration gonna come that's going to do its thing. But what about the moments when it's not there and still wanting to produce something that I'm proud of?
Do you believe Sarah Silverman said, and I know a lot of people don't agree with her for whatever reasons, but I still love this comment that she made. She said, you have to write the bad joke. Like, it's a bad joke to find what the good joke is, or you have to take the bad joke to stage to figure out why it doesn't work. Do you believe that is also true with poetry and poems and stuff?
I feel like I've been around people who that's not been true for. That is my truth, though, for sure. Like, so even the reason I like pen and pad so much is because, like, I have to get through so many of these, like, bad ideas to get to the good part. And so I love to just, if I'm writing a poem, pour out everything I could possibly think about it. And then in there is going to be the gems I'm actually going to use. So for me, that is a process where I gotta get through it. I gotta push through. But I know people who it seems like they do most of that in their mind beforehand. And they kind of sift through. They're able to sift through it before putting it down. So one of my a best friend I used to have, like, our writing process was so different in that way. So, we would have a certain amount of time. And I'm like, I got all this work done because I was just consistently pushing out, and he got like 3 lines, but we both only have 3 good lines. It's just that his 3 lines was the only line that existed. And I had to like say all this to get to that. So it's my truth. But I do think there are some people out there who are able to to work that out in their head and don't always have to use the reaction of people or even the reaction of themselves to find that goodness.
I'm going to say professionally, I don't like those people.
Everything you gonna put out is good,
right? Like you just can't write a. You know what? That's my new survey question right now. Like I need to know. Have you? Because I mean, I've written poems that I don't think are great. Mm-hmm. That's the sentence I will use. Everybody around me loves them. I don't think they're great. Mm-hmm. But I think occasionally I want to sit back because I know the concept that I wrote is good, or like whatever I was thinking about in that moment was good. So I kind of want to go back and write it again or like make it better. But that could also be growth, you know.
Yeah, that's real too. I think sometimes though, this sounds weird, but this is how it gets in my mind, so that's how I'm gonna say it. But I feel like great don't be good enough for us all the time when it's our own work. Like I like the concept of slam too because it does like ask like all of like so many people who slam like they get thrown off when they get a low score because it's like I've changed lives, I've made people cry, I've been told I'm amazing, I know I've received enough evidence to know this is true. How could I get a 5? You know, and it's like in slam, it doesn't mean you're trash now. It's like yeah, but now you're being compared. So it's like which one of these pieces of art still stands in the room of other art? And so sometimes I think that great don't be good enough for us because it's like yeah, it's still good, but I want it to be better, you know? And when we know it's not better, we sometimes discredit, you know, that love we get and having to find space for both. How can I not call it trash, right? Just because it's not what I want it to be, like recognize how good it is and still push myself to make it better.
This is a good transition. How long have you been slamming?
2015 was my first ever slam, January 2015. Yeah.
Wow. And women on paper, how did you do?
I got 7s and I was really excited about those 7s because I was like, oh man, I've never been scored before. Am I going to get a 3? Am I going to get a 1? You know? And so I got 7s and I think I placed like, it might've been 8 people and I was like 4th or 5th, I think. Yeah. And I was like, bet we can move on from here. And then the second slam I won.
I am so glad you answered my second question, which was that's what I wanted to know. So this is where you ended up, but how did you feel about it?
Yeah. And so I'm a competitive person, but I haven't been real athletic, you know. So like sports was just not a thing I was able to be successful in at all. Mm-hmm. And so this gave me an avenue to really exercise that competitive side and something that I could still enjoy and love to do. And I think that competitive nature also made me like pay attention to how people was comparing pieces, even in a non-competitive space. So I'll be like, who got the most claps? Who got the most compliments after the slam? I mean, after the open mic, who got asked to do a feature, right? So I'm already like, it's always a competition. We just don't got scores. and so when I found out about, I decided I wanted to be a poet December 2014, amongst other things, but poetry is where I started because everything else on my list, I didn't do at all, but I at least wrote a little bit. Right. And so I typed in like how to make it as a performance poet and slam popped up. And so PSI, Poetry Slam Incorporated, that existed at the time, had the list of all the venues that was attached to it. And so the closest one was 2 hours away. And I'm like, bet, let's go. And it was so fun to me. It was so fun to just in that structure, they threw up the scores and I talked to a lot of people too about their like early on slam experiences, and it seemed like a lot of people that stayed and it did have a really early win. And I wonder how much that contributes to you being able to stay in it versus just like you just took consistent L's back to back to back. But yeah, so the second slam I went to, I won that slam, and it was like, oh, bet, okay, this is cool. And to wrap up this answer, it was interesting because someone I was going to shows with, like, so we were slamming a lot in Columbus, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And oftentimes when we went to Pittsburgh, he would win. And when we was in Columbus, I would win with the same poems. And so that was also a really helpful experience for me to have because early on I learned how like different things work in different spaces. And it's not so much like this score defines your poem. Because I'm like, I just did it over there. Like, so that was super helpful for me too.
Oh, that's interesting. So wow. wow, we are in slam school because I'm sorry, I literally had like 4 questions hit my head all at the same time. I'm trying to figure out which one to rock with first. So I'm gonna go here first. So you're competing in a slam. This is the scenario. I'm gonna say that you got to 3. There's 5 people going.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear the subject matter of the first 2, and for whatever reason, I'm gonna put you down at number 4 because nobody in number 1 scores well. The first poet of the night never scores well.
Hey, I don't want some out the one before now. I done won a couple slams out, you know what I'm saying, out the one. I done lost a whole lot more, but I done won a couple.
It's hard though coming off the 1 and winning. One thing we mentioned in the pre-show for everybody watching so that you understand. I host a lot of slams. I judge a lot of slams. I audience a lot of slams. I score keep. If there's a job in a slam, I have done it except slam. I think I've slammed maybe 5 times in my entire poetry career. But my style and my performance style does not lend well to slam. And that's just such is life. Such is life. So that's where this conversation is starting from. So let's just say that you're in the 4. And you see how the first couple of poems are scoring. My question is, do you walk in with a set idea of what poems you're going to do, or are you flexible in that, okay, everybody's doing poems about X right now, so maybe I should do a poem about Y?
So I have an idea of what I want to do beforehand, only because I used to come into a slam with so many different poems to choose from. And because I've coached other teams, I've coached BMV and I've coached Cup C teams as well. And then I was a player coach of one of our nationals teams. Like, I know how to choose poems. I could confidently say I know how to choose poems for other people. When it's myself, I've consistently made bad choices. And so I used to come in with like, oh, I want a wide range because I want to be able to have deep pockets and answer to what the room needs. And when it's me, I mess up a lot on that choice. And you always feel like you made the wrong choice when you don't get the score you want. But a lot of other people have been like, so why'd you choose that one? And that's when you know you made the wrong. When they know enough of your work, be like, why would you? And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know it was that bad of a choice. And so my response to that was like, I need to limit what I'm choosing from, so I have less opportunity to make the bad choice. Also write better poems, but it was a combination of those two where it's like, I want my worst choice to still be a good choice. And so both of those things together, writing better, but also just limiting those options. So now if it's 3 rounds, max I'm gonna have is 5 poems to choose from, but I really want 4, you know? And that way I'm like, okay, I might play around with the order, but these are the poems going up. And I had to do that because I'm bad at choosing for myself.
All right, because I remember years ago, and this has been a number of years ago, that I attended a show where they had 2 featured poets who were very much Black Lives Matter. So you got basically 45 minutes of Black Lives Matter between these 2 poets.
Yeah.
And I think if I were slamming more often, if this was my portion, that I would be wary of that, of being the 5th Black Lives Matter poem in a row, or Don't Shoot Black Men poem in a row. But that's just me. That's just my conversation.
I mean, that's real, but it's difficult too, because I've seen like sometimes riding the wave is the best option. And it's like, if this is what y'all like, I'm gonna give you another one. And then there's other times where it's very much the right decision to, like you said, like switch the energy in the room, do something else. The audience is grateful for it. And sometimes it's difficult to know which one is the right choice before you do it. Because then too, it's like knowledge of the impact of your poem. Like, I was in a slam in Richmond, I think. And early on, it seemed like, yo, if you got a heavy poem, this crowd don't want to hear it. You got some deep emotional story, bad score, don't do those poems. And there was enough of them and enough good ones for us to say that's the truth. And then at the end of the second round, someone did a really heavy poem and it got a great score. And I will say I think it was better written than all the other poems, and it was a more creative approach as well. And it was a persona poem, but they were like personifying themselves. And it was like whatever the rule is, it's never strict. It's always breakable. I think it's usually just saying this is less likely versus this won't. And if that poem never happened, all of us would have said, "Oh no, they don't want to hear nothing heavy. It didn't matter what you did. The heavy poem is going to be bad that night." That's what we would have walked away saying, because we didn't hear the good enough poem. And so I think that's also real when even choosing. It's like, yeah, there's always a better decision on, you know what I'm saying, where like ride the wave or switch the room. But if your poem good enough, you ain't got to follow rules.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. How many slams roughly do you do a year? Intent, you know, I'm going to say, I'm just going to slate right there. Just drop it right there.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
So okay, I'll reframe the question. How many did you do last month? Last month being October. I know for sure you did one.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. I was traveling too, so I slammed the DPL. I slammed in Vegas. I slammed in the Pajama Jammy Jam joint. I slammed at Busboys.
It's possible.
Yeah, because it's November. Slammed at Busboys. So I think I did 4 slams last month.
Okay. Do you find that, because that's pretty much one a week. Did you find that, I'm just going to say, hard on you physically or mentally?
I mean, I did like probably 15 shows last month too. So
October was a busy month.
I was doing a lot in October. I was doing a whole lot.
Wait a minute. So you're with me. We're glad October is over.
I was sitting there.
Hired me. Thank you to everybody that hired me. Good God. I was tired.
Yeah, I was doing the most last month. So that, and there was also, like I said, I was traveling, so I would have my features, and then I was like, "Ooh, it's a slam. Let me throw a slam in there," you know. Which it comes more refreshing, honestly, when it's like, and it's usually kind of mixed. I mean, actually, I always have more like either features or being popping up at an open mic than I do slams. So it's always kind of refreshing because of that. Yeah, I think if I was only slamming. Dang, you know, I don't know. I don't think slam has ever been the majority of my shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to say this. I'm not, and if my Busboys people are watching me, don't worry, I'm not quitting. I'm just saying, you know, every once in a while you sit back and you go, okay, maybe it's time to retire. Maybe it's time to hang everything up and just sit back and watch Netflix all day. But I want to say, after you came back, the smile on your face at the end of the PJJ last month was everything for me.
That was just a good time, though. Like that was so fun. It was so fun. Like from the other performances, from writing, you know, and those topics that I wouldn't normally wrote and shared out loud. It was just so much fun. Like, and that's the most fun I had in a slam in a while. That
was the point of the event. I used to host a love and erotic themed open mic. In Baltimore for years. I hosted it. And one of the things I would say is like, this is my contribution to the work that our artists are doing, you know, out trying to change lives and minds. My job is to make sure that y'all come through for a moment and relax and do some funnier poems, do some love, you know, just do something different instead of just talking about the revolution and struggles and everything, you know, just come out and have fun. And that's the same thing with PJJ. Come out and have fun. You know, I don't even joke. I know some very strong slam poets, some top 5 poets in the world. And I will roll up on them in a minute when y'all come through and take Busboys money, if for no other reason, so that y'all come down, we laugh and last.
it's important though. It's important that we write those pieces, but also share them out loud. So I think a lot of times you write it out, but you're like, that's not good enough. And so having that opportunity and joy is also revolutionary. Love is also revolutionary. Sex is revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? And so it's important for us to have those spaces. So I'm grateful to you for providing the opportunity. And then too, because the slam context too makes you like still try to like, I still want to show out, you know what I'm saying? But now I gotta show out in this way. And yeah, it's needed.
I saw some people after that slam because I hosted another event a couple of days later, and they were still talking about your performance from that Friday night. And I'm going to plug my own show at this moment. If you're watching now, the Pajama Jammy Jam Slam happens this coming Friday at Busboys and Poets Tacoma Park, the day after Thanksgiving. Bring your people, come on out. It's a good time.
Need to go, be there. Yes.
What advice would you give to a first-time slammer?
The scores do not define you. They do not define the poem, and they still do matter. And that's what I want most people to hold the balance of, because I think people veer too much on one or the other end, where it's like, oh, this is what they're saying about me as a person, or this is, like I said, this is the definition of the poem. And I was like, you slammed it once, like, you know how different it'll be in a different city with a different crowd, with a different person before you, or they veer on the other side where it's like, none of those scores mean nothing. I know what this, what I mean? Like, it is a response, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we hold the 10s, but we don't hold the 5s. And it's like, if one true, you know what I'm saying, if one means something, the other means something. It doesn't define you, but it does mean at least something, you know what I'm saying? And so you get to choose what you want to do with that. You can say, this is my audience, I don't care. Or you can say, I want to step up, you know what I'm saying? But I really be wanting people to hold both of those things at the same time. I think that maximizes the experience, in the space, because it does push you in a way that an open mic or a feature, usually a feature, they already rock with you. You know what I mean? And that's beautiful, but like, I don't push you for real. Like, I already know I can rock that show. What space can I be in that gives me a little something? You know what I'm saying? Because you can motivate yourself, sure. Right. But when you lose, that's a little extra kick. You know what I mean? Be like, okay, do I want to react to this, or how do I want to react to this? What do I want to do with this? And so I think it's a great space. And when you hold both of those things, don't feel like trash when you lost. Don't feel like your win definitely means, you know what I'm saying? It's a something, it's not everything.
I love that thought. Shoot, now you have me thinking again about my few times that I've actually competed all the way through. Interesting. I'm that's gonna sit with me for a little bit.
Don't step back in the ring. Don't get back up in there.
I have slammed maybe 5 times.
Make it 6.
And the one time that I know for a fact I won, the poets I was competing against, one of them, actually, I'm gonna start. The other 2 were extremely brand new people to performing poetry, and you could tell.
No, just performing in general, they were guys.
Yeah, they were brand new, and I'm like, oh, y'all got washed for no reason, like that, and it's especially by me. That was not good. And then
you ain't gotta take that early L.
No. I'm like, y'all gonna take this L.
Teach them a lesson.
I'm gonna give y'all this L. But the other poet that was in the other performer that was in the slam, notice how I'm changing. Really didn't write poems so much as get on stage and rant for 3 minutes on nonsensical stuff. And their scores proved it. And yet they kept coming to do it. And I'm like, like I've seen this poet get a 2. And like one score was a 2 point something. And I want to say the next score was a 3. And you keep coming back to do this.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And I'd be wondering about that too, because it's like, there's an open mic. You know what I mean?
We'd seen this poet at open mics, and I'm gonna stop talking about them because they have since passed away. But I'm not talking about them personally. I'm just talking about this experience of them.
Yeah. I mean, and just thinking about people, people in general who go revisit the space, like that, especially because I think some people's like, I just want to share. I don't care what the space is.
Right.
And I think some people I've seen them not really like the structure of slam, but like how much more attention they'll receive in that space, and so that drives them to compete more. I do like though when people like it's this one person I know, and from what I see, they lose a lot. Yeah, they lose a lot, and because like I said, I think a lot of people continue slamming. Sometimes they'll have like an early humbling experience and a real early W. And I feel like that's a great formula to keep you, keep you doing it with longevity. And I'm like, man, like you keep losing like that too. It's not like you losing second, like you losing, and you keep coming back. And whatever that takes to just keep on pushing, shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? Because most guys will be like, I'm done. And you be like, when's the next one? So, I'll be appreciating when people keep, like you obviously be want like keep going and improve as you go. But even if you just keep on going, I'm like, yeah, don't let that L get you down. The next one can be a W. So
True. So we happen to know that you moved to Baltimore recently from where?
Cleveland, Ohio. Yes, I moved March 2020. So once I got here, it was like, yeah, let's shut everything down. Yeah. So yeah, I was in Cleveland before that.
So why did you decide to move from Cleveland to Baltimore?
So I was in Ohio for a long time, like long enough to claim it, and I don't be. But I was born in California. That's where all my family is. And so just being in Ohio for so long, I'm like, I feel like I've been in the state too long. Y'all getting too many years on me. And it's just time to go somewhere else. And so my requirements was a strong performance poetry community and need to have at least 50% of the population be Black. So I went to Kent State in Ohio, a PWI, and Kent is basically Kent State. And so Black folk was 6% of the population. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, never again. 50% is my minimum. Which Cleveland, yeah, so Cleveland's 50% Black. You know what I'm saying? So that's what drove me to move to Cleveland. And so I'm like, after being in a city like this, I just can't go backwards, yo. Like I need another Black city. But I also a large portion of my poetry experience was like really having to be a big piece of everything that I experienced. So my first slam team, like we made it ourselves, you know what I'm saying? We found out about Cup C. And then like I knew how to get money from the school. So we got the money, put it together ourselves and went. And there was a lot of teams where it was like I said, I had to be a big portion of either keeping it around or creating it. And so I'm like, and I'm really grateful for those experiences, but I'm like, I want what y'all got. I want that. It's already established. Y'all gonna be just fine without me. Y'all got people there. And I wanted to just join another community. And I say the pros and cons too, because like I've heard people get kind of burnt out or like not feel like they can move as freely as they wanted in a certain community or have to deal with the politics of like something already existing so much where you can't just, do what you want to do. And I had that freedom, just whatever, ain't nothing else here. But like I said, I didn't have that like person who's been there that can guide me as much, or like I said, you don't have to be a part of it for it to thrive or these other things. And so, and I still want to slam. So I'm like, all right, I want to hop on one of the best teams in the nation, and so DPL is still really strong. New Eurekan's still really strong. Baltimore, of course. Texas has some popping teams. Not enough Black people in none of those other cities. So, and then too, like I always had appreciated from the first time I seen them, like the Baltimore team on the national scene. I felt like a lot of poets, as they started to climb that ladder, a lot of the things that existed that they had when they was in majority Black spaces tend to be like extracted from their work. And just, white supremacy invades everything. So it's almost like to get better as a poet, it seemed like people was getting less and less Black in their poems. And it was like to witness a team where like the team is Black, you know what I'm saying? The stories are so much influenced by Blackness, the poetic devices that they're steeped in, the performance style, everything is like, this is the most culturally Black team in the nation, and so that also attracted me so much more than like even if I didn't need to live in a city that was at least 50% Black, you know what I'm saying? That would have pushed me that much more. Where it's like, I still want the poetics to be deeply rooted in that. I still want to be able to go to a hole in the wall, Black space, and still rock that crowd. And I feel like sometimes as you climb through those ranks and got more and more popular on the national scene, the less you was able to just go in some little spot and do your poem that won at this big competition. They actually still rock with you heavy. And it was important for me to be relevant and impactful in all of these spaces versus just, oh, I'm getting my praise from my peers. And I felt like that was a space that would allow me to do that.
So again, talking to you, two questions hit at the same time. So, all right, I'm gonna go with this one first. So the year you arrived in 2020, you became the Baltimore Grand Slam champion and the world shut down. So have you had the opportunity to compete with the Baltimore team like in person yet or no?
Yes. So yeah, the world shut down. It was like, what? But then the national, a different version, because PSI, which hosted the National Poetry Slam, was also like gone.
They went kaputs.
Yeah. And so Candy out of Dallas still wanted to throw something. And it was like pickup teams. You ain't got to worry about going through all the normal protocols to put a team together. And so the year I made the team, I think that was like the most new people on the team in a while. And so when the new nationals popped up, as opposed to like having us carry over, it's like get the old gang back together. But then Slangston wasn't able to go. And so they was like, well, Ephraim was the Grand Slam champion. And I was like, what's up? And so that's how I was able to be added to the team. And so we competed there. That was 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and so then this year, Southern Fried was brought back. And so there were 40 teams there. So that was because there wasn't that many teams at the event we did in 2021. So it was nice to be able to come back again and make the team and compete at a competition that had a lot more teams competing. And so, yeah, I was able to compete in those two slams.
All right. I was just curious. I wasn't too sure if you had or not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm gonna go back. So now that you have created this reputation on the national scene, slam poet, do you still like to go into the hole in the wall venues around the corner?
No, for sure. Like they mad humbling too. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to like slamming in those too, because like the rules would always be different than whatever national slam rules you knew. It was always something weird. You know what I'm saying? Whether how we go 3 instead of 5 does, or you can't see the scores, or here goes some random rule in a round that you didn't hear about when you first signed up, because I don't communicate what the rules are because I don't think about them until the slam starts. Like all this
wow.
And
that's interesting because I know okay, so bringing it back to PJJ, not to talk about myself. I tell everybody up front, this is what you're doing.
You know what you're doing. Cats just be doing stuff. But I used to enjoy it because it just kept me on my toes, And the biggest things in those spaces, like more than creativity, more than writing, more than performance, was relatability. And so I would sometimes have a poem where I'm like, yo, this concept. And then too, I'm like in the space where like, y'all done heard this topic 100 times. So I've developed this poem that brings it to you in a new way. And that's where its merit lies. Whereas this one, they ain't heard it 100 times. The plain way would have been the first time. So you doing all your razzle dazzle and it's taking them out of it. And so it would always, like, I enjoyed it so much because it would be like I said, it was humbling and always be some cat where I'm like, this who beat the me. This the person I done been on this stage. I done been on that. They said they started, and it's like, it doesn't allow you to stay in that mindset of like that big ego you get when you got your list of accomplishments. And that's why I love about slam so much, because like they don't know that and they don't care. Poem versus poem. Now let's see what happens when you can't bring your accolades into the room. And I needed that, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, it just kept me humble, it kept me present, it kept me working. I will say though, a lot of those trips was just like, I'm gonna just pop up in this city. It's not gonna be a profitable trip at all, so that's what slowed me down more than anything, where it's like, we ain't trying to lose money going places. Let's make sure we can Is we seeing somebody, we gonna call, we visiting somebody, then we some, you know what I mean? But I still enjoy those spaces for sure. And then, doing features and stuff like that as well. Like, make sure I can still talk to the people.
That's fun. Okay. I just thought that was just a fun little twist on that question. Because now granted, I will travel because I feel like going somewhere. And if there happens to be an open mic, I will
pop on up.
I'll walk in. People say they don't know me until I open my mouth and say like one sentence, and they're like, "Oh, it's me. I'm here."
Oh man.
Do you have a favorite poem that you enjoy, like that you feel that you enjoy performing? I'll say it that way.
It changes so much, honestly. Okay. But go ahead.
No. You know what? We're going to come back to that question. I forgot. Someone gave me a question to my. Actually, we're going to go ahead and jump into the list of questions. So, did you ever watch Inside the Actor Studio? At the end of the interview, he would ask every artist the same 10 or 11 questions, just as a way to go. Yeah. So that's what we're about to do right now. This is my version of the end of the Actor Studio.
Yes.
Tell us more about what brought you writing poetry. That's one thing we haven't started with the
Ephraim Nehemiah origin story. My poetry origin story. It was the year 215. All right, so
given the vibranium.
Yes. I dropped in a pool of pins and I woke up with ink on my palms. So my high school English teacher, my senior year, had us write poems every day before, or most days before class started. And I definitely grew up in a household where there wasn't a lot of emotional expression. You know what I'm saying? Like my face was perfect. You know what I'm saying? I knew how to give you no emotion. I was great at it. And so this was kind of the first time I was like feelings out loud. Like, what is this? Emotions? What? And so it was just super impactful to me. And so that same year, I got a little journal and I wrote poetry book on it. It was October 10th, I want to say 2010, because I graduated 2011. 2010. Hey, that's like 10.
Interesting.
Now I'm like, was it really October 11th? It was October 10th because I said it was. So yeah, I started my poetry book and then was just writing a lot. Not writing a lot. I wasn't writing a lot at all. No, writing more than ever though. At that time, and yeah, when I got to college at Kent State, there was a lot of open mics, and so I would just say my little confusing poems. Because then too, in that space, it was like, how pretty does it sound? We don't need to know what you're talking about. We want to hear pretty words arranged interestingly. And so yeah, I was just saying whatever. And that same year, I seen this poet. And it was I seen stuff online. But it was the first time I seen a poet in person emotionally move a room with poetry, and I was like, oh shoot, I thought we just got up here and said pretty words. I ain't never seen nobody really move people before, and I was like, bet, I want to do that. And I couldn't think of any ideas at the time, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a remix of The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And so I looked it up and I'm like, yo, which also people be talking about pop culture references and poems. That is the most pop culture poem I've ever seen, yo. It ain't nothing but this happened today up in that mug. But the message is so potent, right? It can it still has longevity, right? And
God, and people, and not saying anything because I haven't heard your version of it, but I'm just it seems like everybody keeps trying to rewrite that poem, and I'm like, that poem is good.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, so I just was like, okay, well, I'm gonna use, since there is so many references, right? It was that was just the space to rewrite. And so I really kept the same structure and I just plugged in today references everywhere and then put a personal spin on how I wanted to end it and my personal feelings about it. And so the first time I was like, I'm gonna memorize it. And so it was 2011. And that was my first time going to perform a poem out loud. And and memorize and really try to do something with it. And my mom had moved back to California at that time. She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pop up to visit you." And so it was my mom and my sister. And I hadn't seen my dad in years by that time, but he was still in Ohio. So he was like, "Oh, since they coming through, we gonna link up." And so my first ever performance like that, my mom, my sister, my dad was there, and I hadn't seen all of them in a little bit, especially my dad in a while. And it was like the most nerve wracking, like, he's gonna act like they not there. Do your poem, And so after that, it was like, oh, I rock with this heavy. Like I had a great response from the room, and just kept pushing from there.
I really like how you answered the next question. So I'm going to ask this question now. What is your memorization process now?
Now, it was not always this, but now I'm a procrastinator, and often I got to memorize. I'm doing the poem that day. So I need a 2-hour block of time. Mm-hmm. And also what helps, though, is I edit my poems a lot. And that does help when I go to memorize it. So the first 30 minutes, I just read it to myself over and over and over again. The second 30 minutes, I say it out loud to myself over and over and over again as many times as I can in that space. Then the third block of 30 minutes is my stumble through section. So I just try to recall as much as possible. I make whatever mistakes I got to make, and I don't look at the paper unless I feel like I cannot recall it, after maybe like a minute of just, staring at it. And even then I try to do a quick look at it and keep going. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth 30 minutes is like, okay, we're just going to keep saying it. Well, it might take longer, 30 minutes to an hour, just like, use everything you did, and then got to get 3 times in a row perfect without making any mistakes. And it works for me. I'm using other people when they really focus. They usually can get it within that 2.5 hours. But also in my mind, each section, the stanzas will probably already be there. But sometimes when we just write it out to perform, we just kind of throw a block of text down. So it's also important, like they're memorized in sections as well. And so in each stanza, as I'm memorizing, I'm really thinking about how does this section start? And then what's the transition line to the next one? And so that helps. So in my mind, I'm going, I will always have the block of text down. So any mess up is just what's the next one? And so at that point, I just got to remember what's the transition line, and I'll be able to smoothly go into the next part. But if I mess up on stage, I just skip that block and go to the next one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell the kids, nobody knows your poem but you. I teach I teach in DC. I'm a teaching artist, and the kids are like, "Well, what if I get on stage and mess up? Nobody's gonna know. Let me give you some tips."
Oh, nobody knows. Shoot, even can't think of nothing else. The poem's over then.
Yeah, ain't nobody heard it. The only person that knows for sure is you. And I'm like, yeah, I meant it to sound like that.
Right. I would do a dramatic stare, and man, if I don't know, and then you just gotta. They don't know. All the pregnant pauses.
Nobody knows. All right. So you have chosen okay, I'm assuming in this moment, you have chosen not to use a stage name. Is there a reason why you have made this decision?
Indecisiveness. That's it, yo. I popped up in a space. I was like, I want one of those. It was like, you gotta choose one, and then you gotta keep it. You don't have to, but when you change it, you got to start telling people your new one. And I was like, I don't know. So I guess I'm just Ephraim. And then the first slam team I was on in Columbus, Ohio, everyone had a stage name. So I was like, well, I'm going to be Nehemiah. I'm not just Ephraim here, So, and then I was like, just say your whole name, yo. Yeah, I want one though. It'll be nice. Maybe when I become a rapper, I'll have one.
I don't know. Please note, I did change mine.
Yeah.
Early on. Because it was my original stage name was Black Athena, spelled Q-U-E. Black B-L-A-Q-U-E. And a lot of the hosts either didn't ask me, or they would pronounce it wrong, or they would stumble across it. And I'm going, you know what? I'm not in the mood to deal with this anymore. So soon after that, I came back. I was like, I'm just going to be me. I'm just gonna be me right now.
Yes.
What is the name of the poem or the subject matter of the poem that you haven't written yet but would like to?
Oh, this has an answer. Hold on. It exists. I'll be passing by it in my notes section. Now I can't think of it. Dang. No, man, I can't think of it. Nope. But another poem I like, right? I want. Oh, there's two poems. I don't know how to write them yet though. Like at all, because there's some poems I'm like just now figuring it out. But those two. So I want to talk about. I want a poem that really examines being non-binary, and I don't know entirely what I have to say in a poem about it yet. You know what I'm saying? I know when I'm talking to people, but I want a poem that talks about gender in that way, where I get to express it, and I just have no idea how that poem exists yet. And then I want to have a poem that like just talks about non-monogamy, and I also don't know how that poem exists either. Like, yeah, I have no idea.
I understand.
I want them.
Understandable. When the time comes, the words will appear on the ceiling.
Yeah, my non-binary, non-monogamy poem. Maybe they'll be together. I'll call it non.
Ooh, you might want to write that down.
I'll have some type of. I'll make some comparison with bread or something. Let me find out some interesting fact about non, bread. I could be like, did you know that non is? You didn't see that flip coming.
But why do I feel that this poem is going to come out and I will be like, yes, I was there. I was there.
Already here when I got the spark.
So if Prince were still alive, he could not do a concert without doing Purple Rain. What is the piece that is most requested from you that if you went to a feature, you could not leave the room unless you did it?
I feel like different people be discovering me at different points, and so they be wanting different things, which is, I don't know, true to how we exist as a human. So, but the three most requested is a poem Waffle House. That was my first poem on Button, and so that was the first. And people still be sending me like, anytime they see a story about Waffle House, they like, did you see this? Prison Got Bars is a poem that's been requested a lot, and then I have a poem called Hunting that's also been requested a lot. That's the one that least gets fulfilled. Oh,
okay. Understood. I'm going to take this break for a moment, and scrolling across the bottom of the screen is Ephraim's. If you wish to support them, their PayPal, their Cash App, their Venmo, you can send that to them directly. You can put in the, you want to get a copy of the book. So let me real quick. How much is the book?
It's $20.
The book is only $20. It's only $20. It is. I still have more questions, but I figured this was a good time to break for commercial. And your next local feature?
Yes.
When is your next local feature?
Yes. Oh, I thought you were about to say it. Well, actually, I'm coming through on the 30th. You know what I'm saying?
450 K Street on November 11th with me, Busboys and Poets. Come through featuring Ephraim. So come through. It'll be a fun night. Okay. Next question. Who is your favorite writer? This can be a songwriter, poet, author, anybody you consider a writer.
Now when you open it up, dang. I don't know when you open it up. I'ma still say Hanif Abdurraqib.
Nice.
Yeah, it's my favorite right now.
All right. I'm sorry. Got a quick thing I got to do. You can have a 1-hour conversation with anyone in history, living or dead. Who would you choose and why?
Me. No, talk to my older self. No, okay. Anyone? I want to talk to. It would be interesting to talk to old Ephraim. I want to talk to. Who's been around the longest? Nah, because I might not like them if they're that old. Dang, who I want to talk to? I'm gonna come back. Can I come back?
Yeah, we can come back to that one. So your perfect concert. Pier 6 is set up for you. You got the best seats in the house. 3 acts, living or dead. Who would you want to see on stage?
Dang. Do I do it off the best performers or like? Oh, all right. This gonna change. Let me think about it. But my mind first said Michael Jackson, Beyonce, and Femi Kuti.
Ooh.
But I gotta think though.
That's the quickest anybody has ever answered that question.
Yeah. I said Femi too. I know Fela would like. I rock with Femi's music more, and I'm like, oh my god, as a performer, it's like, oh my god. And then I ain't seen Michael and Beyonce perform. We already know, so I'm like, I feel like, like that would be the best performance I could think of for someone to put together.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not 100% confident. That's the music I want to hear the most. Like I might want more of a range or something. I mean, that's a range, but I might want more of a, you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Somebody got to be ratchet in there or something. Like, dang, that would be good though.
That would be a good show though. That would be a good show.
Man. Beyonce, you can't replace Beyonce. Can't replace Mike. Can't replace Femi. No, that's my answer. I can't put anybody out.
That's the show. Tell us something about yourself that most people would not know. You ain't got to go to a deep, dark secret. Just
oh man, that's how you ever ask like a prompt for your students and then you find out, oh my gosh, this opens up wounds. You try to adjust it where it's like, this can also have a happy response. Yo, people don't be knowing that look around the room. Oh, what do people know? That's not exciting though.
It doesn't matter. What am I
about to say? Okay,
you got the Baltimore pop down, I hear.
People don't know that I'm in a play taking place on December 16th and 17th.
Really?
And yes, it is. Has a name. I just got cast it. I don't remember. It's a play December 16th and 17th. It'll be in Landover, Maryland. And you can come check me out. This is my 3rd play that I've been in all this year. I said I wanted to act, and I've been blessed to do so. So I'm very excited to be in this play. And you come check it out when I give the information, I guess later, because my phone don't want to show it to me.
Okay, so Ephraim's website is right up here. I believe their social media is attached to it. So go ahead and follow Ephraim. So when the play information drops, you can go see it.
Yes.
So, boy, did you just answer the next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have another creative outlet? And if no, what else would you like to learn? So we're going to go with the second part. What else would you like to learn?
I mean, I'm a player enjoy it. So I decided, so poetry was always first on my list, but I always wanted to do other things. And so this year I decided I'm ready to start, figuring out what that next thing is. And so comedy, acting, and music was the things I wanted to jump into, and whichever one calls me the loudest is the one I'll focus on the most. So I started all 3 of those. I'm actually going to be in the end of the year comedy competition. The comedians who won at Magooby's previously in the year. All the winners get to compete. So it'll be like the Grant Slam for Baltimore comedy. That will be taking place December 22nd. So come check me out doing that. Like I said, I want to start acting, and then I'm gonna drop some music real soon. You know what I mean? I'm about to be a rapper. Who do you think I'll be playing when I say I'm about to be a rapper? Like I'm about to be an entire rapper. Like I'm gonna be on. Y'all gonna be listening to me and stuff. And,
I love the fact that you've put yourself in a position that I want to do this, so I'm going to go do this.
Yeah, ain't nothing to it but to do it. You know,
I love that. All right, so this is the last question, and then after this, I'm gonna bring back my my teammates so that they can ask you anything that I may not have asked you, or anything along that line. So the last question is this: if heaven exists, what do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You was right.
Ooh. And on that note, I'm going to exit myself off stage left, and I'm going to let Ephraim close out with the poem.
Word. Yeah, let's do this one. An affirmation is the assertion that something exists or is true. We say them to ourselves in support of who we are or to manifest what we will be. And I used to hate them, especially when other people would say them to me. Like, you know, when you scroll and it's like, if you are reading this, you are loved. I'm like, nigga, you don't know me. I am the type that prefers criticism to compliments because it's easier to believe. I love bad endings. I be looking forward to breakups. You ain't never gonna catch me talk about some, hey, brother, I can't complain. Because I can and I will. I'm an expert at managing my expectations. I learned believing in the worst is a faith that would not forsake me. I was let down so often, I couldn't tell the difference between when a hole was dug for me when I was the one holding the shovel. My friend asked me once if I would do affirmations with her, told me to write something that I loved about myself and something that I want to achieve. And at that moment, I could feel self-doubt beginning to crawl around my ears. She told me, you speak of your fears and they happen. You declare the worst and it comes to pass. So how can you doubt your ability to manifest? Your nightmares ain't premonitions. It's just what you mostly mention. So imagine what would happen if you actually spoke life into your dreams. Okay, she ain't say all those words exactly, but I do remember how it made me feel when she said those words. So now I write affirmations. I realize it wasn't those affirmations from other people themselves that are bothering me, just that no one can speak life like I can speak life into me. We are taught so often to seek motivation from others, to look for God in the heavens, to search for inspiration in what exists outside, as if all these things don't also exist in the mirror. So now when I say affirmations, I am saying this thing is true. Like I do not have to sacrifice my self-love to receive love from others. When I speak affirmations, I am saying this thing does exist. Like the weapon formed against my family will keep us apart. When I say, Ephraim, you bad as hell and beautiful too, there is no ambiguity in my praise. When I tell myself all the success I wish for will come true, I mean it wholeheartedly. When I say I will drink more water, I do not specify how much more water, and then I mean it. When I say this world will not make me hate myself, I see my students, y'all. I once asked them what they see in the mirror. They said ugly. They said a failure. They said I'll never measure up. One of them told me that the TV checks on me more than my parents do. If I'm quiet enough, at least Netflix asks, are you still there? They say the things that I once said to myself. So now one of the first things I do in a classroom is affirmations. I know I will not always be there to show them what it's like to be loved, but at least I can help in the process of them loving themselves. They wake up in the morning, get dressed in a collage of opinions meant to break them into pieces. So I tell them about affirmations. I tell them it's not only for what we are, but what we will be. And sometimes you have to manifest love for yourself that does not yet exist, but you speak it anyway. Because if you tell yourself something enough times, you can watch it bloom into reality. So for Jocelyn, Malachi, Jeffrey, Nahome, your affirmations remind me why I wanted to teach in the first place. It reminds me what happens when a withering plant grows itself back to life. It reminds me of what survival looks like in a world that tries to tear us down so much. We're reminded how we continue to survive, continue to affirm ourselves, continue to be everything we tell ourselves we can be.
I'm gonna open it up to the team because I done spent the hour with you.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was awesome.
That was amazing.
Yeah, awesome. I'm jumping in because they always jump in before me. So I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
Dude, I really, really I'm sorry, really enjoyed tonight's interview. It was so funny because if we were all on screen, I don't know how they reacted, but simply Sherry, when you said your list of your acts, it was Michael, I know Feli Kuti. When you said, we were all like, oh, it's like this visceral reaction. So I loved it. So here's a question that I have for you. You guys earlier were talking about, a good poem, a bad poem versus the good poem. You kind of were dancing around that. And I find this is interesting. Poets, I think we all have our definition of what that is. Yet often what we don't like Sherry said, that others love. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you define, or how would you give a definition to a fifth grader of what a good poem is?
Oh, to a fifth grader, dang, hold on. Okay, I might have to go all around the mulberry bush to figure out how I say it to a fifth grader. But like, it's a poem that does what it's trying to do. To me, like, because that's not the same as a poem I like, right? But if you do what you try to do, then it's a good poem, And if you not, then it's bad. You know what I'm saying? Poems I like though is based off of how much you make me feel, and how well you were able to execute that. And I think that's just for art in general. Like, how much did you make me feel, and how well were you able to execute? You know what I'm saying? Also, yeah, what you was trying to do, and so. That can exist in craft, that can exist in the performance, that can exist in the writing, that can exist in how creative it was, were you able to speak to the person who knows the most and the person who knows the least at the same time? Yeah, but like to try to create some balance when I'm like critiquing someone else's poem and not use too much of just like make it Ephraim's favorite poem. I'm like, what were you trying to do? And let's talk about whether or not you did that.
Have you ever had the experience where maybe you've written something, you knew what you wanted it to accomplish, but with the feedback, you found that it accomplished something you had no idea it would or could accomplish?
Yes. So I have this poem called Jesus Christ Tries Talking to His Father Again. And in that poem, it's a persona poem from the perspective of Jesus dealing with an absentee father. And more than like a lot of people definitely get like that, when you have a struggle relationship with a parent. But more than anything, for me, it was what I want my son to never say to me. Because in that poem, too, Jesus never had a relationship with his father. I had a relationship that eventually, stopped becoming one. What I should have anticipated, but didn't, is how much people saw about their struggle with religion in that poem. And so for a lot of people, it was like, I'm having a conversation with Jesus. I'm having a conversation with God, and I'm struggling with my relationship with my faith and wrestling what it means to be who I want to be and be who God wants me to be.
Yeah.
That didn't exist in the writing at all. And from my perspective and what I decided to put into the poem, but so many people got that out of it. And I was like, oh, I ain't mad at that. That's what's up. Okay.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, I find that a lot. Like this is what my intention was. Maybe it was strictly for me, but others find something bigger than I ever imagined. And those, to me, I would define as great poems. Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What are you most proud of, Ephraim?
What am I most proud of? You know what? I was reflecting on this today. Yesterday, I would not have an answer. But I pay my bills with poetry. All right. I'll be doing poetry things, and I'm very proud of that. And I wasn't proud of that for real because I'm just going through the motions. I'm always thinking about what's next. I'm always thinking about I'm not where I want to be. So I don't take time to appreciate where I am. And today I was in the Uber and I was thinking about, like you doing what you said you wanted to do. You know what I mean? And so you got to like be proud of that. So
Most def. Hats off to you. Great interview.
Thank you.
I have a question that I don't think I've ever asked before on this show at all.
What?
No, like it just occurred to me. Like we've had plenty of slam poets on here who always talk about like, why they get into slam and how, how much they enjoy it. The thing I don't think I've ever asked is What do you not like? There's always like
Great question.
Yo, I don't like cats.
Yeah, what do you not like about this?
I don't like the cats who slam who don't like slamming. Keep it real with you. I be enjoying the process, man. A lot of people be in that mug. Like I said, like slam provides a unique space that is hard to find in other places, especially on the national level where it's like, yeah, you can go to a conference, but you got to do X, Y, and Z to be a speaker. Here, you go to the conference, these people gonna hear you from around the nation. You know what I'm saying? And you know everyone here rocks with poetry. And I think a lot of people and who they slam and they do not like slam. I love it, yo. Like it is so much fun to me. And so I'll be getting annoyed when cats like, why are you over here? Go to the open mic, go feature, go do what you want. And if matter of fact, let's say you like, I don't know, you like scores, but you don't like no props. One of my favorite slams I ever did was Ohio Meat Grinder, organized by Scott Woods. And it was just like the only rule was the time limit. You can use props, you can use costumes, you can use music, you could jump on somebody else's team and do a poem. I did Waffle House and we burnt the Waffle House menu on the stage. Someone had a chainsaw, balanced, someone did a God is my daddy, and they had the leather on and was whipping somebody make some meatloaf. I've seen some poems. Slam can do whatever you want.
So to piggyback off of Girl Genius's question, do you think that the person sometimes ends up at a slam because they don't know where the open mic is?
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people. They said they didn't even know it was a slam. You know what I'm saying?
They don't know what a slam is.
Yeah.
There are people in slam that don't know what a slam is, but there are people I know that I've seen slam more than once that will, loudly.
Yeah, they keep coming.
They don't like slam, and my thing is, I think about this sometimes because I'm like, I understand that slam is sometimes for some people a gateway into, doing the thing with poetry. Like, here, I'm going to jump in feet first, and I think this is the way to do it. Like, but if you don't like it,
you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And there's things not to like. Like, people don't like seeing the scores. Whenever you got a small community, people gonna be messy, people gonna be toxic. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's things for me to say I don't like it, but slam kind of has to be unique to slam, right? And I don't think, like, for instance, people being toxic in a certain way, like, to me that's a small community. Like, there's gonna be messy people in a small community. So I'm not gonna say I don't like that slam. Like, that's not unique to slam to me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Actually, I think that's any community of any
genre.
No, period. Yeah. Of any group, there's always a toxic element to anything, and you have a decision to make at that point to either join the toxicity or stay above it and just watch it. I'm going to shut up now because I know Nikki
when 13 and I first started dating some 20 years ago, slam was a way to make money because there was very little people who had money to pay features. So when you featured, it was always past the hat, right? So if you wanted to get any type of big money, you slammed. If you were a full-time artist, you slammed, even if you didn't like slam, because they got the $500 slam, they got the $1,000 slam, you're trying to pay rent. So that's why people slammed back in the day. I'm just saying.
That is true. That is, I will definitely tell you that is true. But that's now the opposite. Right.
It's not like that, but I'm just saying back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, if somebody like Sherry says, come get this busboy's money, even though you don't slam, you go slam.
Yeah, it's fair, right? It is fair to a lot of us participate in things we do not like because it can provide something else we do. That is fair. I do it as well. I just enjoy it because when it's something I enjoy so much, it'd be like annoying because then I feel like they'd be like, I remember I was at a big slam. I'm keeping scores. I'm not slamming, but I'm interested. I remember I'm saying to the person out loud, they need a 28.5. And it was somebody annoyed, like, why are you? Because in their mind, I'm like taking away from this. Like, you're so concerned with the scores. What about the art? And I'm like, I can do both. Like, and so for some
Both are
people,
important.
I keep scores. Listen, I keep scores when I'm not slamming, even when I'm not slamming. To it for me, it's sort of like it's sort of a ritual. It sort of calms my nerves down.
it's a part of the experience to me.
It is part of the experience.
Like when I'm watching a competition, if I'm watching basketball, I want to know how many points people have. I don't just want to see the hoop. I want to see that, but I want to see that in the score. And so yeah, that's like, ooh, who's winning?
Is that reflective? You're like, is that reflective of that poem? I don't know. Like I wouldn't have given it. Like I do that in my head. Like I wouldn't have given that a 6. Maybe I would have been 6.5. I don't know. Maybe
I host slams.
I love the
analysis.
It's like being a sportscaster. It's like being a sportscaster minus the actual sitting on the sideline of the basketball. Like it's like people who do the stats and analysis. Like I do that stuff. Like it's crazy.
I would love to be on the sidelines during the slam, like and having some type of podcast where it's like they got a 23.5. That is the second highest score in the slam. There are still 5 people left to go, and
they start doing that. I swear to God,
like incorporate that.
You know what? I'm gonna give everybody
that would be good to do live like on social media, like you in the back of the slam, you be like in up next.
Yeah,
you don't know what the slam is, but she's like that'd be dope.
And I want to say this right now. I want to let everybody know that's watching. If you've ever watched me host the slam, the first thing I will tell you is that I do my best to be neutral because I don't want to influence the audience or the crowds. However, I will be standing on stage reading scores going, okay, that score was some BS. And I'm still reading the scores.
Yeah.
I will do that.
I don't do it. But like, I would love to just be on the side like going, yeah, so like this person has now been mapped out. The next person,
I'm gonna incorporate that. Listen, I'm gonna incorporate that in. You wait till I do another slam. You wait till I do my next slam.
Please let me be sitting commentary.
You do it. Will you do it?
Word. I'm here for it.
Now, so on the side.
You do it.
Yo,
I'm gonna incorporate that in a friendly game of slam.
Yes.
So you're gonna do it. We said it here, so it's cool.
I'm ready.
Are you okay with being called a slam poet?
Okay. I don't call myself that. I'm okay with it in the sense that it is not a bad thing to be called. And I don't want it to be a bad thing to be called. But to me, like, I'm more something like I'm a poet who slam, you know what I mean? Like, mostly because, like, because you could as a slam poet, same thing. If you slam, you a slam poet. All right, how many times you got to slam to say you're a slam poet? How active do you got to be? And you know what I mean? Like, because then too, people be like, I ain't wrote 10 years, I'm still a writer. So if you slammed a couple times, you always, you know what I mean? So, but a lot of people use that like pejoratively, you know what I mean? And so I don't like it existing in that space. So I'm okay with it because like, ain't nothing wrong with that. But in my mind, I slam just like I feature. I go to open mics, you know what I'm saying? I do the things. But yeah.
I am so happy.
When people ask you what you do for a living, what do you say?
Poetry. And then they be like,
say poetry. How do you do poetry? And then when people say you do poetry, how do you do poetry? What's the answer?
Then I'm like, yeah, I perform and I teach, you know what I'm saying? I go do da-da-da. And then so I don't get the spiel. But I like just starting off like poetry. And they always have that. I don't understand. I don't understand that answer. What does that mean?
Exactly. That's why I said, then what do they say?
Like that's an option.
Do you have a book?
Yes, I do.
Oh, are you better read or heard?
Am I better read or heard?
Read or heard?
I'm better both.
Yep. She has it. Look at her. Promote. Go ahead.
Yes. And you see it. I tried to
Genius. The title of the book again?
The Autobiography of Absence.
The Autobiography of Absence. The
I happened to catch this last time I saw you. So
yes.
$20 for the book. How do we get it?
You can get it at EphraimNehemiah.com. Go to the section that is titled Autobiography of Absence. You can purchase a book online and I will ship it to you. Or you can follow me on Instagram and see where I'll be performing and pop up on me. And I'll have a book on hand.
Just make sure you have mine on the 30th.
I got you.
One more question. What does Ephraim mean?
Ephraim means to be fruitful. Ephraim was in the Bible. Y'all seen didn't Disney so one of them DreamWorks did the Joseph Dreamcoat?
Yeah.
So that person had 2 sons, maybe more. But Ephraim was the youngest, but received the blessings as if they was the firstborn child. And so I was the youngest in my family, but I was my father's firstborn. So that's why he gave me the name Ephraim.
Nice.
Oh, let me ask you a question.
I love it.
Last question. No, this is going to be my last question before we get to the last question of the night.
The last question, right?
Do you think slam poetry is its own genre, such as along the line? Because some people say, well, a slam poem is one thing compared to a love poem or erotic poem or an open mic poem or something along that line. So, do you think slam poetry is a genre or of itself, or that's the one.
No. And I understand why people think that, though, or I will say that. I'm not going to say think that like it can't be true for them. But for me, when I look at the history of slam, especially considering its high turnover rate, to me, it switches too often to really put it in a genre, but also what would it mean for a slam poem to exist? Because I think a lot of times people say, this is what you have to do to win. And that don't exist. Because the place you're in, those particular judges, who is before you, all that influences it so much more. And especially because, like I said, I like to go to a lot of hole in the wall joints where people wouldn't call none of those slam poems, but they'd be what I call, they'd consider mine a slam poem, but it was like different spaces call for different things too much. I will say though that slam, the scores, I think more than anything else, is based off of how much you make people feel. And when you are consistently competing, it encourages you to learn different gimmicks that will encourage feeling amongst people easier. And so a lot of people tend to pick up those gimmicks really fast because they're tricks you could use. And so then we end up seeing these people in this space doing a lot of the same tricks, and we go, that's the genre. But those tricks are never exclusive to that space. And also that whatever's popping tends to switch. Like for a period of time, it'll be straight persona poems. Then everybody got to do a list poem. Then everybody's being really trauma heavy and enforced. And everybody's saying, wow, people like it when you flip the room, make them feel good after the trauma. So it keeps going. But to me, like if I do, let's say like what's another genre? I don't know. But if I brought some other genre and I went to a love poem spot and I did that joint, it would be like, no, this is love poems. And that's not it. And because to me, that doesn't exist in terms of the slam poem, it's not like I bring that to a feature, which is not a slam. And they like, we don't like those. This is a feature. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? No, that's not it. Like they still be there for that. Like, so to me, there's there's not enough there for me to call it a genre.
Oh my word. Cause Girl Genius and I did a slam about 2 or 3 years ago where the person performing, it was a young lady, and she would give you words, Black Lives Matter. Words, fight the patriarchy. Words. No, literally, it would be like words, punchline. And the punchline would be
the only thing you heard.
And she won. And I'm like, all right. And then she leaves, and Girl Genius and I do our play-by-play. I'm like, that was not a real poem. It was like words, punchline.
It wasn't a punchline. It was like catchphrase.
Catchphrase.
It wasn't even like clever. Yeah. It wasn't even like clever punchlines. It was like catchphrase.
Yes.
It was the only thing you could actually hear out of everything that she was saying. The rest of it was just words out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to ask that question about is slam poetry a genre? All right, Girl Genius, last question of the night.
All right, here you go. This is literally, as I tell people, the hardest question you will answer all night. We've thrown these at you. It's still the hardest question you'll answer all night. And I'm looking forward to this answer. All right, here you go. No, this is gonna be. I can't wait.
And give him the and give them the warning because of who's already been here. I'll say it that way.
Okay.
In general.
So you heard the intro. You know the segments. So we have Poets and Platforms, Passion Projects, From Behind the Microphone, which is a segment you're currently on, and let's talk about the usually books, right? So now that you have been on the show, who do you think would make a good guest on this show? Now, we keep a list.
Most of the Baltimore Slam team.
We had most of the Baltimore Slam team on the show. Actually,
but we're missing
with
one.
You, no. Officially, there's one missing.
We're missing
now that
one.
we had you here, there's one person who's not been on the show from the Baltimore Slam team.
I might just say her name. If it is who I think it is.
Go ahead.
Is it Maya?
Then that's two.
That's two, because we'll say from the original Slam team.
From the original,
From
the original, there's one that's still missing, and Maya's not been here, and
Has Chakra done it?
Yep.
Who? Yes.
Chakra.
Yes.
Slamson did it?
Yep. All of them did it.
We've had Kenneth.
We've had Kenneth,
Breon.
Winston, Breon, Jacob, everything. Everybody's been here.
Graham?
Wait.
We have not talked to Grim.
We have not talked to Grim.
Suggested before.
But it doesn't have to just be somebody like.
Now I want to know who I ain't thinking of.
No, the door.
No, we haven't had Mecca, and we've tried to book Mecca, and I'll see Mecca tomorrow night. I'll see Mecca in a little bit. So
no, we haven't had. We tried this once, and we couldn't coordinate it. But no, but it doesn't have to be here. We are a show that goes out.
Yeah, we're virtual, so anybody.
Yeah.
You a traveler? You a traveler? Let us know.
This is a master class, so we've been told. I like to think of it as one. Whose brain you want to pick?
Dang. That's hard, y'all.
No, I mean, who do you want to see?
I'm trying to think.
I'm not saying we can do it, but I'm not saying we can't. We have pulled some stuff out.
I want to. Dang, there's so many names going through my head. All right.
We'll toss them out. You ain't got to pick one. Toss out a couple.
Then I'm going to think the ones I didn't toss out. This is why I'm so indecisive.
You can always email them later.
You can always
True story.
And everybody always says that too.
I will tell you, we had Gail Danley on here, and that was epic.
Yes. You know what? I want to see Maya Wright.
Got it.
You know what? You got it.
We'll work that out.
We will add Maya to the list. Mind you, we are still working from the original list put together 3 years ago.
Which I think
you were on. Spreadsheet.
Hey.
We have an Excel spreadsheet full of names of people we wanted on the show, which I believe you were on.
I believe you're on.
I'm honored. I am honored.
So as we do at this point in the evening, everyone, please give a huge round of applause for our guest, Ephraim Nehemiah.
Make a round of applause.
Yes. We will be, make sure you hit their website to get the book. Their Cash App is floating across the bottom that, support them directly. Remember, because this is how they pay their bills. Next week is Thanksgiving weekend. So we will be off that weekend, enjoying our holiday weekend. So our next show will be December 4th.
December 4th.
And
I know who it is. I do, and I want to hold off on announcing, but I know who it is.
No worries. All right. So everyone, as we say every week, please stay safe. Wash your hands.
Eat good.
Eat well. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see y'all all again soon. Good night.